you so much for that. So I want to tell you a little bit about this panel. This is, doors closed, right?
Yeah.
There's no corn ferry microphones in here?
No, not anymore.
There's no Russell Reynolds microphones in here?
No Russell Reynolds spies anymore.
Okay. Wait, how many people are reporters? No, just kidding.
Everything's off
Report
the
your wife. There is a well-trained man. So this is really, we will try to be as open and honest as we possibly can without being arrested.
Or fired. Right, arrested or fired. Those are kind of
Arrested,
the
fired,
lines,
or
right?
elbowed heavily between us, but it has been a very bizarre, strange and wonderful experience that we've all had as recruiters. How many people are here because they're actually interested in this as an industry?
It's not me.
No? Okay. How many people are here interested because how do you work with a recruiter? What do they really do? Yeah, we figured that's probably the most of it. So we'll tailor it to that, but we will take any, pretty much any questions that are, answerable. If not, we'll maybe come up with something good. But basically, yes?
At some point, if you could tell us why you got into recruiting.
Well, there is
That
no
may change.
why.
Okay.
There is no why. But we will say how.
How?
Yeah.
And then at the end, we will talk a little bit about why we're still in it.
That's
So what we're gonna
And
do
then we've got
is,
one about why he did it and why he's out of it, so we'll get the full picture.
Yeah, so I can be really, really honest.
Yeah.
so I did not do this on purpose, but I said, well, we'll get recruiters that come from top MBA schools, right? So where are they all? Well, with the exception of Sloan, I did not work with Sloan at Russell Reynolds, but the rest of us have all worked at Russell Reynolds at the same time together.
I think so, yeah.
But none of us are still at Russell Reynolds.
Why?
That's a good question. We're gonna talk about that a little bit more
Okay,
later, not with you guys though, amongst ourselves. No, but it's very interesting, and it's also why do people with MBAs go into this and why do they stay? But that's not really why you're here, but it's kind of interesting, so we will talk a little bit about that. But none of us are still with Russell Reynolds. We've all chosen different things, and we'll talk about that. So each of us will introduce ourselves, tell you, you've got our bios, we're not gonna bore you with our background. But what we're gonna talk about is how we got suckered into this industry. I speak for myself, but nobody really plans to go into recruiting. Well, you might have a different story, but.
I'll let the suspense
And then we're gonna talk about the do's and don'ts. We're gonna each share with you, a do when working with recruiters and a don't when working with recruiters. And then we've got a couple things that, we wanna share with you about recruiting. We're gonna try not to bore you and keep talking too much. We'll take questions. You don't have to hold them to the end. If you have a question, raise your hand. We want this to be very interactive. So without any further ado, Alan, I'll let you kick it off.
My name is Alan Reed, and I run a small boutique search firm called Reed & Associates. Nothing novel about that, but we launched it back in the spring, and I've been in the search business for about 11 years. I was a partner at Russell Reynolds Associates in their healthcare and life sciences practice, and then I went to lead the healthcare practice at another firm before launching a firm of my own. So I've got a small team, and we work with the same clients that we've worked with throughout my whole career, which are a mix of Fortune 500 healthcare and life sciences companies, as well as private equity and venture capital-backed companies, and do a little bit of work here that's more Washington-centric as well. So let's see, I got into the business. Everybody had my bio, so I just told everybody my background anyway. But I got into the business, like most people, just by mistake. It was I was a consultant in healthcare at a company here in town called the Advisory Board Company, and I was looking at what I wanted to do next in healthcare after consulting. And I had a friend from McKinsey who had reached out to all the search firms and gave me that database. I sent my information out to everybody. It was early in my career, and the guy who ran the Washington office for Russell Reynolds said, "Come on in and meet me, it'd be great." And I said, "Sure, I'll meet the guy who's running the office." And so we had one of those discussions that was kind of like, well, you're a little earlier in your career to be on the radar of Russell Reynolds at this point because you're not a senior executive, but would you consider search? So I said, well, I'm here and I've got a half hour still to go. So I listened, and about 3 months later got into the business. So it was really just, it was compelling once I sat down and really thought about it. You're consulting, you're working with people, you get to focus on an industry that you care about if you're focused on industry versus function. and it's been a good run since then. So that's how I got into the business. Do's and don'ts. Wow, I think the biggest do I would say is do know who you're talking to before you get on the phone with an executive recruiter or you meet with an executive recruiter. And what I mean by that is know what they're focused on and know what they're interested in, because there are many recruiters out there that don't have a lot of time. So knowing what industry, what function, what kinds of clients they're working for, what industries, I already mentioned that, and how large those companies are and how much recruiting they're doing. I think you should ask direct questions and find out. If you can't figure it out by somebody's bio or what's on the website of a search firm, ask the direct questions so that you're not wasting the recruiter's time, or they're not wasting your time pretending to be able to help you when they really can't. I'd say the don't try to oversell your capabilities for a particular assignment or position. That won't get you very far. It'll waste a lot of your time and a lot of the recruiter's time, and it'll usually end the way it would have ended if you had been very, I guess, upfront with yourself about what you're ready to do next, and with the recruiter about what they're looking for. I think a lot of people try to oversell their experience, and it's, the only thing I would qualify there is that some of the firms have two kind of levels of recruiters. Those who are doing the candidate development on the front end, who have less experience, a little less savvy about perhaps what they're screening for. And I think with those people, you may want to sell a little bit harder, because they may have missed something about your background. But the experienced recruiters who have been doing it for 10 plus years or even 5 plus years, if you sell too hard, you're going to end up at the same point anyway. So those are a couple of thoughts.